So the main event and the co-main event of the first pay-per-view of 2024 has been announced. The main event is going to be Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria, and the co-main event is going to be Arnold Allen versus Movsar Evloev. These are two really big and exciting fights in the featherweight division. I'm super pumped about both of them, and I want to talk about them just for a few minutes. I'm not going to go into too much detail because obviously when the card comes around, I'll do a full card prediction, but yeah, I just want to talk about these real quick because some people weren't quite expecting this. I think some people were expecting Volk to maybe wait out the Islam Charles fight and then move up and fight Islam, but I guess he's going to fight Topuria, so let's get into that one right away. I'm definitely picking Volkanovski to win the fight. I think Topuria is going to have a decent chance. I think he has a better chance than most guys. I think the fact that he's another shorter, stockier guy could give Volk some issues because Volk is going to be so used to fighting people that are not around that same body type as him. And we see some fighters just struggle with different body types. And if you look through Volkanovski's career, one of his most difficult fights was Chad Mendes. And some people would argue that the fact that they were kind of the same size and they both just slugged it out might have been one of those reasons. It's kind of like how Max Holloway always struggles with like shorter opponents versus guys that are his height. If you look at his career, he struggled with Volkanovski, obviously, and he struggled more with like Frankie Edgar at the time than he maybe should have. I don't know what it is about shorter guys. I think it's shorter guys with slightly longer reach, maybe. Maybe it's just harder to hit a shorter guy in the head. I don't really know, to be honest, but Ilia Topuria is really good. He has really slick boxing, and he has a lot of power, so he's always going to have that puncher's chance. He probably has a better puncher's chance than anyone else in the division. I would say he has a better chance of landing that KO blow than Yair Rodriguez did. But I also think Ilia Topuria is probably being a little overhyped after his performance over Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett is not that great. He's good. And he's dangerous because he hits so hard, but skill-wise, he's not that great. If you go through Josh Emmett's fights, this is Ilia Topuria's best win in his career is Josh Emmett. Let's just clear that up. This is his best win. They said that it was like 50-42 on the scorecards. I don't know where they came up with that. It's probably 50-44, if we're being real. I don't think there's 3 10-8 rounds in that fight. But Josh Emmett could have arguably been on like a 4-fight losing streak, okay? Because the win streak he went on, you go back to like Dan Ige, when he fought Dan Ige. I thought that Dan Ige won that fight. Josh Emmett drops Dan Ige in the first round, and so he gets that first round, but then the next 2 rounds, I don't think he won them. I thought he got outstruck pretty handily. And if you go, like a lot of people argue over that one, it was a very close fight. And then he fights Calvin Kattar because he wins the fight over Dan Ige, and he fights Calvin Kattar. And pretty much everybody with eyeballs thought that Calvin Kattar won that fight because I don't know what the judges were watching. Like, Calvin Kattar was landing all the better shots. By the end of the fight, Josh Emmett's face was busted up. Calvin Kattar looked fine. And the entire fight, Josh Emmett was rushing forward and throwing these big looping shots or whatever. And they were all bouncing off Kattar's gloves. Kattar has like a very, high guard. He keeps that high guard, and he does a pretty good job of rolling and parrying shots. And yeah, nothing landed clean on Kattar in that fight. I don't know if Josh landed a single clean shot to the head in that fight. Almost none. Kattar clearly won that fight, at least 3-2, possibly 4-1. But they gave it to Josh Emmett, so that's 2 fights possibly that he lost in a row. And then you go from his fight with Kattar to Yair Rodriguez, and he gets pretty quickly dismantled and butchered by Yair, and he gets handily taken care of now by Ilia Topuria. I do think, I've seen some people say that Topuria should have finished Josh Emmett to really prove his worth. I personally think that a 5-round dismantling of an opponent and 5-round dominance is more impressive than like an early finish. So I do think he beat Emmett in probably the most impressive way that he could have, in my opinion. But it's Josh Emmett, and that's my problem. Like, I can't compare Josh Emmett to Volk. If he'd fought somebody different, if Ilia Topuria went out there and he had a great performance against Yair Rodriguez, or if he had even like a super close win over Max Holloway, or a close competitive win over Arnold Allen, then I'd be a little more sold on him, but his win over Josh Emmett just doesn't say too much for me. But I do think he has a good chance against Volk. I just don't see him winning. I think Volk, at this point in his career, he's just too good everywhere. He has great boxing. He has really great movement. He's very good with his defense. Great counter punches. The way he countered Yair in their fight. Yair throws a head kick, and he just barely slips out of the way of it, and then lands the hook perfectly, and then falls up. And then the way he was beating up Yair against the cage after landing that hook, and then switch right into the most athletic, brutal-looking takedown you've ever seen. Picks up Yair, slams him on the ground, and then beats his face in, and the fight's over. I just don't see anybody beating Volk right now. I think Volk's going to lose eventually, because most champions do. All great fighters, they eventually fall unless they retire early. I'm sure he'll lose at some point. I just don't think it's yet. I feel like we're going to get at least another year of dominance out of Volkanovski before he loses. But I guess that's just a feeling, It could happen. Ilia Topuria could do it. If anyone in the division right now could, not to be disrespectful, but if anybody right now could fluke it and knock him out, it's pretty much Yair Rodriguez or Ilia Topuria. They're the best options for that. So yeah, I see Volk winning. I'm not going to go into that one anymore. The other one that got announced is Arnold Allen versus Movsar Evloev. This is a really, really good contenders fight. It's kind of a bummer this one's happening, actually, because I don't want either of these guys to lose. I would like to see them both in the top 3 before they fight. It would have been cool if they were fighting as a number 1 contender fight, which it might still be, to be honest, but it probably shouldn't be. If Max Holloway hadn't already lost to Volk 3 times, this definitely wouldn't be a number 1 contender fight, but I guess it could be. Movsar Evloev coming off of that decision win over Diego Lopez, and Arnold Allen is coming off of a loss to Max Holloway. So, who am I going to go with in this one? This one I haven't really decided yet. I'm probably going to go with Arnold Allen. Movsar Evloev has looked really good in his career, and I'm not going to hold the Diego Lopez performance against him. I know a lot of people kind of trashed on him for not dominating this new guy in Diego Lopez, but Diego Lopez passed the eye test. He's clearly very good, and that was short notice, so it's hard to blame Movsar Evloev for that one. And he's looked great in all his other fights. His performance over Dan Ige is one of the best Dan Ige performances I've seen. Dan Ige is kind of the benchmark for a lot of these featherweights, and Evloev's performance over him was fantastic. It was very impressive in my opinion. So I think he's very good, and I'm sure he'll fight for the belt at some point. I don't know if he'll win it. But Arnold Allen he had a very good showing of himself against Max Holloway. We're at this point where we all know Max Holloway. He's the second best featherweight, and it's like if you can perform well against him, then you clearly belong in the top 3, top 5 area. And because most guys don't, okay? Max Holloway pretty well dominates everybody, and Arnold Allen performed pretty well against him. He clearly lost, but he did good, and that's just shows you how good Max Holloway is and how amazing Volkanovski is. If we're saying that somebody is clearly an amazing fighter, if they can just do good against Max Holloway, he lost good. That's how good Max Holloway is, I guess. But yeah, that says a lot about a fighter to me. How they perform against Max Holloway. If you perform good against Max Holloway, I'll pick you to beat most other people. That's basically what it comes down to. I think Arnold Allen is a very physically strong fighter. I think he has very good striking. I think he has good takedown defense, even though we haven't seen a whole ton of it. He has power. Cardio could be an issue. We've seen that in the past, but he looked pretty good in the Holloway fight. He didn't seem to get too tired, but in the past it has been an issue, and Evloev could push that pace with the grappling, so that could be a problem, but I don't think that's going to happen. I see Arnold Allen stuffing the takedowns and just outstriking Evloev on the feet and winning a decision. So yeah, that's all I've really got to say about it. I'm super excited about the January pay-per-view. I'm super excited about the future of the UFC. I hope we get a lot of great pay-per-views next year. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you didn't, then hit the dislike button. If you can subscribe, that would be cool. I will talk to you all later. Goodbye.